Hello and welcome. I'm Ben the Best 5 and I'm coming at you with yet another Kerbal Space Program video. Now you might notice that with this video I'm in fact starting completely differently because I'm in fact starting all the way from in outer space. Because that's right, I am in fact attaching the major solar array and the rest of the integrated truss structure to the ISS. Now the way that this is set up, I could have launched it in several launches and assembled it properly and stuff. However, those massively big solar arrays and the way that I have constructed them, simply don't work like that. They can't be launched because in my previous videos where I launched one previously, which has in fact now been undocked because it glitched out, so I'm in fact replacing it here. And yes, and I'm docking it, which is actually a very difficult task because, believe it or not, I have in fact gone through and auto-strutted every single part there, and it's still flipping all over the place, which made docking it very difficult. Plus, what you are seeing is actually sped up footage. In fact, I've sped it up by about, pretty sure this is sped up by 8 times, just because I was lagging so incredibly severely, because, well, my computer, although it's pretty impressive, I like to think, it's got some nice parts in it. It's not a supercomputer, so in order to get this, this footage, decently to where you would expect it, I had to speed up quite a bit. So yes. So here's me, just docking the first wing. You may also notice that I've also attached some of the smaller bits, the external storage modules, and some of the experiments which are attached to the integrated truss structure, like the spectrometer and the particle counter and stuff, because in reality those were launched later, and could actually quite feasibly be attached, just because because in fact I perform a very similar mission, because I in fact install external storage platform to the side of the Quest airlock later on in my video, and I could have in fact done it in a very similar way. However, it just didn't seem to be I just didn't feel like it, basically. And since I'm launching one, I am cheating the parts to orbit, but that's because those solar panels do not like to stay together in one piece when they launch, as seen in my first video, which I have pointed out before. Anyway, so, and as you can see, the flimsiness is really causing an issue when trying to get up close. However, as you can see here, I was in fact able to dock it with the rest of the main station. Now here is the second half, in light, a bit of in the light side of the planet, direct opposite to the other, so if you like the coolness of doing it, docking at night, then I gave you that. However, if you liked the awesomeness of being able to see stuff properly in day, you can see it here, and you can see that those panels are wobbling all over the place, which is just crazy. And this one even went even more crazy with the low strutting, and well, it didn't help. I must say that I am actually rather proud of my integrated truss structure here, even though it because it's got a lot of parts to it. However, it really does look quite, in my opinion, it actually looks quite realistic and quite nice. Just the way I managed to make it work out, and also all of the panels can retract and stuff, and could, if parts were actually scaled correctly, and if the hinges were strong enough, they could actually be packed into something like a space shuttle and launched in a realistic way. you know. Perhaps if Kerbal Space Program ever does become a bit more, reliable or whatever, or maybe in Kerbal Space Program 2. When Kerbal Space Program 2 comes out, uh, I might do a revisit of my ISS building series and build one in there, if the robotics are better. And yeah, and I might launch all of those by shuttle, just simply because it might be feasible. It also might be feasible to perform, if the robotics are better, I could actually use a Canada arm to perform the adjustments instead of docking them via RCS, as you can see here. Which, especially for docking something like this, it would be much better if I could break it up into small sections and dock it like that, and just bring pieces in and just attach them, instead of having to have monopropellant and thrusters and stuff on a whole bunch of segments. It'd be a lot easier if I could just rely on some robotics to come along and do a lot of the hard stuff for me. You did see me using time warp. That was just because I was getting quite a lot of bend through the rest of the ITS already built into the ISS, and I figured that maybe doing that would actually stable it out and stop it from perhaps smashing. But because stuff, if it does wobble too much, it can smash. And we were getting some wobbling just because I am nudging up against the side of the station, which, as you can see there, is causing it to nudge and wobble. However, yeah. Any minute now we will in fact be properly docked, because it is nicely lined up. You know how this build is in fact 1,900 plus parts? Well, I reckon that about 1,200 of those are actually in this ITS, just simply because of all the structural panels I used to get the shape of the integrated truss structure above, where it connects to the US lab Destiny, as well as all those solar panels. I mean, I've got no concrete evidence to back this up, but I really do reckon that's where most of my parts went, and why it's suddenly a whole lot more laggy, and why I'm playing the footage so fast. Anyway, this video is in fact not just only about the integrated truss structure, and I would feel a little bit bad if I cheated absolutely everything in this orbit, in this playthrough video into orbit. So here I am launching a rocket, and this rocket in fact contains the Harmony module, as well as the external storage platform too, which in fact docks next to the Quest airlock. And I did in fact send them up in an accurate order, because bye bye booster, you won't be missed. Anyway, now we're in orbit. Yes, so what I did right is, you saw there, so what I had is I had the Quest airlock's external stowage. I had that connected to this little tug here, and yeah, this tug then docked it to the place it needed to dock to. However, and yes, I did cut out a lot of the initial docking. This tug then could undock from the storage platform and then dock to the that's just me slowing the main thing down, because we didn't get our velocity down to perfectly zero when we rendezvoused. We got decently close, but not quite. So what I then did was I in fact took the tug after it was freed. I docked it to the pressurized mating adapter there, which needs to move because, well, it's currently in the way, which means that we can't actually dock our Harmony module correctly. So once it had in fact performed its role there, I in fact then docked it to the Harmony module, undocked the pressurized mating adapter, undocked the pressurized mating adapter, and from there I was able to dock the Harmony module in, and then this had then gone a sufficient distance away from the station that I could then slide the Harmony module into position. I could then remove its thing that lifted it up, and then put the pressurized mating adapter back into place for its final resting place on board the ISS. Now you might notice now that it's suddenly a lot darker. That is because, well, this had actually veered quite a lot of ways off, so I had to perform quite a lot of adjustments, and just this docking of the pressurized, just the pressurized mating adapter moving, and then plugging this in took me over an hour, and then I also had to spend time, and that's not including the time I spent initially docking the external storage platform, or the time that I spent redocking the pressurized mating adapter. So yeah, that's just because my frames per second are just so incredibly low, just because of the extreme part count I have, and that's me just performing a rather unsafe but surprisingly practical deorbiting of the no longer required upper stage from that Atlas 5 Atlas 5 501 that I made. Again, it's not a particularly, good replica, because I could have added some flags and a whole bunch of details and stuff. However, as mentioned in my first video, I figured, and I did some really awesome proton replicas there. But anyway, I digress. Basically, a space shuttle replica for what I was doing. Although it could be done, my calendar arm wasn't working, and a whole bunch of other details didn't work. And basically, by the time I did have a working one, it wasn't really a decent quality, replica, and then flying it was really difficult, so I figured instead of that I might as well just make a replica of a different American rocket, which could have been used to launch at least most of the parts of the ISS, which is the Atlas 5, which is why I did that. Anyway, the pressurized mating adapter is back in place, and that gives me a great place where I can show off my very nice looking ISS hanging in orbit high above the Kerbin atmosphere. And while you're looking at this very beautiful cinematic photo of a actually really looking quite good and nearly complete ISS right now, there will in fact be some links on the screen. You should press those so that you can see more of my amazing content. And even if you don't click one of those, please do leave my video a like, it supports me, and subscribe, and comment if you want. Say something or keep in touch. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope that you are having a great day. See ya.